When a preacher or a believer has more faith in the law of Moses, he is despising what Christ has done. Yeah. When a preacher is afraid to preach the finished work of Christ because he doesn't want people to think he is giving people a license to sin, he is despising what Christ has done in his belief system or in his heart. So in neglecting, he was referring to an attitude of despising what God has done in Christ. In reading the document, you will see the Old Testament and New Testament. But in observing closely, you will know that it is not true. That demarcation, Old Testament, New Testament, is not true. Yet we have a document called the Old Testament and the New Testament for reference sake. They are not revelatory in design. The point is to look at what the scriptures teaches by the Spirit of God for us to know when we are reading the New Testament, and for us to know when we are reading the Old Testament, because there is Old Testament in New Testament and there is New Testament in Old Testament. So it's not a demarcation of books. When did the Old Testament start? Hebrews chapter 8 verse 6. But now hath he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. Next verse. For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. For finding fault with them, he saith, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. Next verse. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. This is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. So when was that Old Testament? When they left Egypt to the promised land, which we call Exodus, or the movement of the people. That is where the old covenant began. In Hebrews chapter 8 verse 10, let me read to verse 13. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. Next verse. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord. For all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. For I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins and iniquities will I remember no more. In that he saith, a new covenant he had made the first old. Now that which decayeth and waxeth old is ready to vanish away. So when did the old covenant begin? Exodus. So you will discover again that the old covenant is not a book. The old covenant is a relationship. When we see a relationship based on the law and a relationship based on goat sacrifices, a relationship based on physical ordinances, we see the Old Testament. Did you hear that? Yeah. When we see a relationship that is based on the law, animal sacrifices, physical ordinances, touch not, taste not, That is Old Testament. But right there in those books, you will see a relationship that is not based on the law or on those sacrifices. So a careful study will make you see the old covenant even in the epistles, in the conduct of certain people like Peter and James. So it's not a function of books. It's a function of a relationship that people had.